public hearings. Now we want the citizens to be heard. This is the portion of the meeting we ask you to come forward and state your name and address so we may have that for our record. Our policy requires that you stay under 3 minutes so that others have time to be heard. Please direct all comments to council as a whole and do not attempt to engage individual members of council in debate. It's the council's policy to follow through with you on your concern. Additionally, we ask that any groups that want to address the council designate one spokesperson to represent the group and their comments. Again, this will ensure that all have time to be heard. Having said that, are there any citizens wishing to be heard at this time? Please step forward.
Good evening.
Good evening.
I'm John Thompson, 32 Penny 7 Santamini Circle with Lake Park. And I would ask that I can be extended a couple of minutes if deemed necessary, because what I'm about to address to you today is very critical and very important, and it's something that you definitely need to hear.
So we reset his time so that he was handing out items. It was a little lot there.
All right. Well, what we have here is calling what I just handed you, please take very seriously, because what we're about to go through here now is going to be some changes that have never occurred in the issue of Valdosta. This is the Economic Appropriation Fund. We're going to be asking through our attorneys, through you guys, to appeal to the administration for an additional amount of money. You understand that there will be some funding coming down, and we want something allocated to the south side. And what we have here is the Economic Appropriation Fund request on demand of $250 million plus for the revitalization of the south side, only located in Valdosta, in the city of Valdosta, Georgia. The purpose is to restore the dignity of a once thriving community. And this is because 40 years ago, we constructed a bridge here that killed many of the black businesses in this city and literally cut the city in half. A community today where 42% of the population earn less than $10,000 annually, according to the latest analysis of impediments taken 2018 to 2024. And 40% live below poverty. This is a city that is 51% to 53% black. The fund we are asking to be distributed over a 10-year period, which means $25 million to serve this community a year. Of those services, the cost of the governing body, which the attorney fees, the cost of court will be served, the body will be navigated, controlled, and governed. The total activity of the distribution allocated private funds. The purpose is the strategic planning of the thriving community to serve the needs of all the people, not just some of the people, but all the people, in order to maintain families. And the legal system will need to be in place, which will include the committee formed by the citizens of the South Side. The targets of the revitalization are upgrading the existing structures, easing applicable loan systems which meet a certain need, and upgrading of the area, such as medical, recreation, educational, job training centers that will not only train but teach businesses as well, and the ethics of businesses of distant companies. This is vital to reverse the damage done to this community over the years of neglect and exclusion. We stand to raise, and we're going to stand to invoke Title VI. Our attorneys will elaborate on the legal aspects of what we're about to go through. Now, I was asking for an extended period of time, and I get that.
You said your attorney's going to elaborate on that?
Yes.
How was your attorney? What's up next? Is he here?
No, he's not here. They will be in touch with you guys. If I can just have just a couple more minutes, if I will. We are standing to raise the issues, and we want to see some changes come to this city. And what we're going to be doing is going to actually help the city to a certain degree. It's going to be a lot of disagreement because it's going to mean a change in structural power at the very highest levels here. These changes need to be done, need to be considered. It's something that we are going to be looking forward to, we're going to work hard to, and we are going to stand to raise the issues either here or either someplace in the federal courts. This is something that we are ongoing, and you are placed on notice that things about to change here in our county. Thank you.
Thank you, John. Is there any other citizens that wish to be heard at this time? Woodrow.
I'm Dr. Oscar Lyons and Finance General Court, Oak Drive, Valdosta, Georgia. For too many years, little have been done to really help and resolve the issues in the underprivileged community here in Valdosta and across the nation. Our former President, President Trump, signed the Executive Order 139-50, which hampered and cut out a lot of the benefits for the oppressed people across America. I'm not going to get into it, but you can reference that and find it all online. But what I want to talk about is that President Biden revoked that order, that executive order, and he implemented 139-85. And this can be found on the web. There's some money coming down, and unlike the CDBG grant, community block grant, everybody familiar with that, we intend to oversee these monies coming to the city, school boards of education, and other places under the Biden Executive Order 139-85. Lowndes County will receive $22,804,739. City of Valdosta will receive $16,254,692. And the School Board of Education will receive, according to what I received, approximately 2.5 times the budget. And that's the on that school board, I'm not exactly sure on that. But we want to put Valdosta and Lowndes County on notice, Valdosta mainly, that we will oversee. If necessary, we will have attorneys to oversee how these money will be spent. Because urban renewal, CDBG grants, et cetera, the African American community did not get their fair share. Too often the system put white contractors over urban renewal. They put a black man there, but really a white guy that was benefiting from it. So we just want fairness. I want you to know that it's nothing that I'm doing, and what Mr. Robinson said, I'm sure he don't want nothing out of that, except fairness for everybody. He won't reap not one dime at the end of that come. I would like to also request maybe another minute, if I could.
I'll give you the same 45 seconds that John got.
Okay, a minute would hurt. But anyway, this is for the good of the community. And I close by saying, we all might as well get on the ship, because sooner or later, Valdosta gonna change. Don't think it's just Valdosta. Already, all the cities are standing before their elected officials as I'm standing here today. It's not just me. Reverend Malone and going across the state of Georgia. We're looking for change. We want help. We need help. We fought in every war of this nation. We are entitled to some of the economic power. And I want to be a part of that change. and I hope that you all will be a part of that change. I'm not angry, you know, I'm not raising my voice. We just want equity, and by God's grace,
Thank you,
beg pardon?
George. I said, thank you, George. Your time's up.
Mr. Mayor, I think you can do better than that, but that's okay.
You just asked.
I think you can do better.
I gave you what you asked for, George.
I think you can do better. No, I think you can do
I
better.
gave you exactly what you asked for.
But it's okay, because in the end,
Citizens to be heard tonight.
you can do better.
Please state your name. Okay, not necessary.
J.B. Rice, 501 Garfield Drive, Valdosta, Georgia. I came up here ready to commend council on something, but before I do that, I'm really appalled and offended that when you get to the citizens to be heard section, I looked at the council several times, several people talking, showing disconcern, not being attentive. And I think it's insulting for folk to sit through a council meeting to address council, and the least you can do is listen to them and be attentive to their concerns. So bear that in mind next time when someone gets up here. But I want to commend council for taking the initiative to implement the public transportation system that you started in Valdosta on demand. We needed that 18 years ago, so it's 18 years in the making, and I want to thank you for doing what's needed to be done for this community over these past years. But with that in mind, I want us to be mindful that the White House Office of Management and Budget is proposing to change the guidelines for metropolitan status. Right now, the guideline states that you have to be a city of 50,000 to be a metro city. They're going to try to change it to 100,000. And if that is approved, that's going to directly affect the funding that we get for our airport, the funding that we get for economic development, the funding that we get for education, and the funding that we get for public transportation. So I request that we contact all of our congressmen, both of our U.S. senators, GMA, U.S. Council of Mayors, and whoever we have to make sure that everything is done to keep it like we have it now, that a metropolitan status stays at 50,000 people and not 100,000 as proposed by OMB. If that's done, then that's going to affect us directly because we got to subsidize those programs that I mentioned if we want to keep them. And I don't want to see our property taxes increase, not one dime. Thank you for your time.
Maybe thank you. Are there any other citizens to be heard at this time?
Yes, good evening, everyone. I'm Pastor Darren Neal, pastor of Christ Gospel Missionary Baptist Church, 1402 East Hill Avenue, president of NAACP. The reason I'm here tonight is exactly what Reverend Robinson and Bur Rhymes spoke about. It's not that monies are coming down the line, they're monies that are here. President Biden has done a great deal of work to bring the underserved and underprivileged, those people that have been forgotten about, to parity and to equity. One of the things he did with the American Rescue Plan was outline funding that should be given specifically to these people. This money that has come here to the city of Valdosta is to be used to help the underserved, to build up the infrastructure in those areas that are dilapidated, worn down. And one of the things that raised my eyebrow, and this is not directed to Mr. Barber and the native Rain and native life, but we sat with John Ossoff, and when John Ossoff stated the number of monies that was coming down the line, I heard the city manager say, hey, I've already got something to do with that money. Well, that money has specifications attached to it. We cannot use that money to supplement our budget or, let's say, supplant. This city has a budget already that's in place. That budget is designed to keep us running. This money that is being sent is to help those people in these areas, especially in these census tract areas, in which money just never seems to reach it. We have a history here in Valdosta of overlooking the poor and impoverished. We must admit that. There's no mental health treatment here for people who are on the street corners. We're taking them to county line to county lines. We have children that are homeless right now. They're living in hotels, they're living in cars that we have just simply overlooked. There are roads in certain sections of town. I've been here 15, 16 years. And I'll be honest with you, I'm very passionate about this. I don't have to stay here any longer. I got all the training in the world to go anywhere I want to go. Go to any city in the world. I came here because the job brought me here. But after I saw the need of the people, I decided to stay and fight. And I'm going to keep fighting. I'm going to be watching. We do have oversight committees. John Ossoff and his team is working with us specifically to make sure these monies go where they are. Biden and John Ossoff, Raphael Warnock specifically spoke of how they undercut, what did undercut? They circumvented the middleman. So the money can come from the federal government directly to the city governments. But that's where the problem occurs. Because in the 16 years I've been here, monies have come down to help the underserved, and it just sits there. And it either disappears or somehow magically is reallocated somewhere else to be used somewhere else. I've seen monies that were set aside as I go and read these budgets that were set aside in underserved communities just to fix the roads. And then we look up, may I have just maybe a minute or so?
You have the additional minute that they offer.
Then I see that these monies were collectively pushed towards Woodrow Wilson. You ride through town and there's a bump. In the 16 years I've been here, I can tell you what every bump is in impoverished neighborhoods. Nothing gets done. This is an opportunity now where I heard the word inclusion used tonight. We're all Valdostans. This money here is now set aside to bring people who never ever seem to get looked at up to speed. Bringing folks that don't ever get the funding they need will help boost this economy, generate money for us so we can all survive. If we were like India right now, India is in a situation where COVID is hitting so bad that 10,000 people died in one day. They don't even have room to put people in hospitals. They're keeping them in ambulances and bodies are stacked up outside. Can we say that it won't happen to Valdosta? And guess what? It wouldn't matter your color. If that happened to us, one day we're going to be put in a situation where I'm going to have to serve you, you're going to have to serve me, and color, race, creed, nationality, ain't gonna matter. It's just the love of God. That money now.
Time's up. We're here loud and clear, which time's up.
Well, let me ask a question.
Time's up.
My time's up, but I have a question.
We'll follow up with you after the meeting.
Well, Mr. Mayor, you're a very hard person to follow up. That's the reason why we filed a complaint against you, because we keep asking to speak to you. I don't have faith that you will talk to me. You are the mayor of Valdosta, and we filed a complaint against you because we keep asking to talk to you, and you ignore us. So I find it hard to believe that you will speak to us.
Please sit down.
I want to put you on notice that I'm going to speak
Put me up whatever you want.
I'm
Please
going
sit
to
down.
speak civilly for the things that the state your seat to be removed, the committee you selected that exonerated you. I'm going to see you civilly. You stated that you said that I paid people to vote, and I did. And I'm angry. Very angry.
Any other citizens wishing to be heard this time? You get an extra minute.
So all these other people can just talk until they're done and we can't? Aren't we citizens of Valdosta?
We'll now move on to the city manager's report.
Don't you
Mark Barber. Please issue the city manager's report.
Thank you, Mayor. My comments will be brief. This afternoon, this week, food truck, personally sort of food truck Thursday will be next Thursday from 5 to 8:30. But as you're aware, if you've seen around town, we do have some filming crews in town.
Thank you. Mayor Roberts. Robert, what do you think about your presentation? How was it accepted? And what do you think about tonight's meeting?
Well, the main thing is that they would put on notice that an action is going to occur here, and they can take it lightly if they like, if they want to, but it's something they better not take lightly because we will be going to federal court.
Well, what do you think about the mayor not seeming to give a few minutes?
That was unfair.
It was unfair.
That was totally unfair. Totally unfair. And they know it's unfair. You know, and it's a violation of our rights, a violation of your rights when they cut you down because you like the freedom of speech.
Well, one other thing, with all the black councilmen, do you think they should have stood up for us? When I say us, the right to speak, because I've gone to other cities and the council will say, give him 2 other minutes, 3 minutes. But I didn't see that tonight. So it seems to me that Valdosta is a little different from other cities that I've interviewed elected officials at.
Well, let me explain something to you. See, when things are situated the way it is here, you can expect anything, man. It's nothing right here, none whatsoever. And I'm gonna close with saying that maybe perhaps when we get done, there will be some changes here because we are going to go all the way with this.
Okay, thank you very much.
You all gonna sneak by your here and put these up.
Bring that for me. You want to say a few words?
Yeah,
You want to do it in here? Out there?
we're doing that.
I want it here.
Yeah, we're doing it here.
Pastor Neil. What? Okay. Pastor Neil, what do you think about tonight's meeting, and why are you so compassionate about your points that you was trying to make, and in addition to the mayor's not granting a few minutes? I go to other cities across the state, and they give people additional minutes, and mostly it's the councilmen that stand up and grant that. They asked in the council, say, yes, we want to give 2 minutes, 3 minutes. They didn't do that here tonight. Why do you think this council is different from other councils?
Well, I think that this council is not willing to hear the people. 3 minutes is not enough to state your claim. We've listened to an hour-and-a-half long meeting in which 4 people were given 12 total minutes with additional 3 minutes. We're talking at least 15 to 17 minutes that was given to 4 people, citizens that just had something to say. The entire night was given to me, an agenda that was already set in place, that it planned to go down just like it went down, a cookie cutter type meeting in which no one is supposed to oppose. I'm here tonight and I'm very passionate about this issue because Joe Biden, Senator John Ossoff, Senator Raphael Warnock, they have ensured and made sure that monies would go out to people that are underserved, that have been disenfranchised, folk that have been hurt, the American, or those people that the American dream, this alleged American dream, seems to bypass. This is an opportunity now. The door is wide open, and if we don't walk through it, we'll never get through it. The door's open now where funding can take people who've never been able to receive that dream, that they can get it now. And I'm here to make sure that that money goes where it's supposed to. There are people in our city government right now, let's say specifically the city manager, who has the opportunity to place these monies in different places, and I understand it to be differently. I see that he has an agenda to place money to supplement a budget that's already in place, and to place monies where typically they shouldn't go. This city has already budgeted for the different things that they're trying to do. Maintaining our infrastructure in these census tract areas, these impoverished areas, is very important. Bringing these people these small businesses that have been pushed aside, that money's there for them. Families that are living in cars, families that are living in hotels. We have children that are homeless. This shouldn't be in a system in which we just built an $86 million high school, but can't take a child that's living in a car and they know about it. That's wrong. It's no other way to say it but wrong. And this money is brought to bring those people out of those holes. And if we do not do that, then we're not the government or the city we say that we are.
Pastor Neil, in addition to being pastor, what other title do you carry here in the city?
I'm the president of the NAACP, the Lowndes County chapter of the NAACP.
Okay, now, I stated when I was up, and I just want you to give me your opinion. The issue that are addressed here tonight in Valdosta is in Waycross, it's across the state of Georgia, it's across the nation. This is nothing that anybody's asking locally for. It is a national and federal movement. Am I right?
That's correct. There are cities, there are city governments that are standing up everywhere. We, the people, have reached a point where we're fed up. We're tired of being overlooked. We're tired of being underserved. We're tired of the promises that are broken. There's money in place right now, not yesterday, not coming. There's money in place right now that could help people in a very, very, very mighty way. If we do not take advantage of that, we're going to see the same old status quo occur where money's come down the line and they're never used where they're supposed to be. Some executive order, some executive decisions done, and money's never reached the black community.
And that includes CDBG grants as well?
CDBG. Joe Biden in his American Rescue Plan specifically spelled out 4 groups of people, not just minorities. He spelled out Black people, Latino, American Indian, and Asian, that these 4 groups have been underserved across the United States, not just this year, not last year, but for decades, for centuries, we've been overlooked, and we built this country. Joe Biden has changed his position, the position he held some 40 years ago. He's changed his position. He has redeemed himself. He now wants to go backward and correct those mistakes and make sure the people, he has identified that the people of this country that I just named have been overlooked. It's something that we ignore. We pretend racism doesn't exist, but there are Black people being shot by the police every day, and every day there's an excuse as to why these people are being shot. There are people right now that are homeless, that people are overlooked. It took Flint, Michigan years to get fresh drinking water. Why? There are people in Florida that suffered a hurricane 3 years ago that are still homeless and don't have. When do we as a people correct these mistakes? We've been given money, free money, to correct these things, to build and an inclusive city. Why don't we take advantage of it? This is not the time to do the status quo.
Okay, in closing, do you give me permission to publish this to the general public where the other news media may not publish this?
Yes, sir.
Do you mind me publishing it?
No,
so the people in Valdosta will be educated, because education is the weapon,
Yes.
drugs are the enemy.
Yes.
Thank you very much.